You've bought your garden seeds and now you're not sure when to start them indoors to have the seedlings in the right size for spring to plant them out, then this video is for you. Welcome to part 3 of my garden planning series, where I walk you today through a full seed starting schedule, how to set this up for your growing zone and what you need right now. I'm Steffi, I'm a home gardener in Attleboro, Massachusetts, zone 6, and I love to share my insights with you here on this channel. And I'm also German, so planning is part of my DNA. Let me walk you through a 3-step process, which is super quick to get your seed starting schedule ready. The first important step is know your dates. That is really critical for the entire garden planning. What dates am I referring to? The last frost date in spring, which means the historical last average date when you have frost in your areas. You can super easily Google that and just put in your zip code and say last frost date, and Google will spit out a date. Same with the first frost date, which is the equivalent but in fall, when typically on average the first frost hit for your region. And both dates together define how many days you have in the season to actually plant your garden. For me, this is in spring. The average last frost date, when I Google it, it says actually a little bit later, but I like to stretch my luck a little bit. And I typically plan with the third weekend in May to plant out my summer vegetables. And in terms of first frost date in fall, I usually calculate with mid-October, so like the 15th or third weekend in October as well. That has worked out well. In the last few years, the first frost date was actually 3 weeks or even 4 weeks later than that. Nevertheless, we know how nature is. She likes to throw us every once in a while for a loop. So when it comes closer to the dates in spring and I see the weather forecast for the next 10 days, I might make adjustments and decide to keep the plants a little bit longer in than I intended to, but usually in the last years, that plan has worked out very well for me. So knowing your dates is the first step. So that brings us to step 2. What do we do when we have the dates? We want to apply those dates to the calendar. I have my garden journal here, my iPad version of it, so I can screen share this easy with you. If you are more a paper person, I have also a paper version here. I gotta plug it. But if you're interested, you'll find the link below in the description. But what is really cool is it has a very detailed calendar, so you are able to really detail that out nicely. And I also brought some seed examples here, so tomato, basil, and hot pepper, just to look at the seed package description, because that is your next step after you know your dates. Reading the seed package description from most seed companies, that is very descriptive of how many weeks you need to plan from your last frost date backwards to know then when you need to plant. So for example, I have here some tomato seeds from Mountain Magic Tomato from Johnny's, and what I love about Johnny's, they don't have any pictures on it, which is that's the only thing I would complain about it. But when you turn it around, it's full with information. Or every time when you go to the Johnny's website, you have this slew of information also on the website, which I love about them. Such a great resource. When you read through the description for the tomato, it says a quarter deep in flats or cold frames about 5 to 6 weeks before plants can be set out after frost danger. So 5 to 7 weeks, that is what we plan here for the tomatoes. Then the basil, it says it is, where is it? 6 weeks. And the peppers, they always need some more time. So it says here 8 weeks. I actually typically go more with like 10 weeks for peppers, because mine have been always a little bit slow and I like to have them slightly larger. But otherwise, I usually stick to the seed package description. So we have 5 to 6 weeks, 6 weeks, and 8 weeks to plan now. So in the last garden planning video, we decided what we wanted to plan. If you missed that one, I can link that here so you can rewatch this one. But once you know what you want to plant out, you can start creating your seed starting schedule. So we can do that here together. In my garden journal, I'll pull up the calendar and I will pull up May, where we have our last frost date. I'll just put that here. I'll just calculate here with the May 14th, like last frost, and we can light that up a little bit. So once we know the last frost date, it's literally just counting back the weeks on where we will find then the 6 weeks mark. So basically what I'm doing here, let me quickly change the color. Okay, so we are going to count back the weeks. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just went back like 10 weeks, so we see all those dates lining up. So when we have this now pointed down, it is super easy to say now, okay, the tomatoes need 5 to 6 weeks. So I look here at where my 5 to 6 weeks mark is. That is beginning of April, and that is actually exactly where I started them last year. It felt so late for me to not start tomatoes in March or so. I literally did it in the second week of April, and they had the perfect height for me and my dates. So I can highly recommend sticking to this. I do love smelling my tomatoes early, so I would go and say, let's start tomatoes here. I'm a weekend a gardener, so I always plan for me to do this in weekends. So and then for the pepper, for example, that was 8 weeks. We just go back 2 more weeks. And again, like I typically go more like 10 weeks because my peppers have been slightly on the slower portion. So that is something what I will do then beginning of March. So once you grow a little bit longer, you will get a feeling for, or you get some experience for which plants will work very well for you and which ones take a little bit more time for your growing conditions or how you start them every year. So for me, the peppers will work out very well with a 10 week mark, and everything else gets usually started mid-end March, or like the tomatoes beginning of April, and we will be good to go. I've done the mistake to be too excited and too impatient to wait with my tomatoes, and literally like 3 feet high tomatoes to transplant, and that is not a happy medium. I don't want to transplant them more than one time up into a pot. I don't want to pot them up a second time into a bigger pot. It's just too much work, too much hassle. And I don't think the seedling benefits of being super large, because then the risk of them going into shock when you transplant them is just higher. So I like to keep them at this type of size for them to transplant, and that has worked very well for me. So this is basically how I go about all of my seeds, also my flower seeds for my cut flower garden. This is exactly how I build out this plan, and then I'll transfer this usually into here my seed starting plan, just a little bit more of an condensed view where I have everything in a list. I can see exactly where I need to start what, and have this also then as reference for next year. So then I have one last bonus tip for you, which I can highly recommend, on how I then actually organize my seeds to get them, to have them ready for seed starting. And what do I do there is, you've probably seen those photo storage boxes already. In my other videos, I love those ones. They're called photo storage. I have also the link below. But what is so cool with them is that they have all of those little compartments, and I have those little compartments marked with the date and the weeks going back. So for me, I can just very, very easily put them into the 10 to 12 weeks mark and put them into that bucket and go about it. And then when that week comes and that date comes for me, I just pull out this little container and have all seeds ready, which I need to start on this weekend. Takes so much hassle out of the equation of seed starting. Don't need to search, you have it all ready. And I typically even have the labels already written, because that takes always the most time for me to actually sit down and write all the labels. I do that like a night or two before, next to the TV while watching a movie or so, or some Netflix. And that has been like a game changer when it comes to seed starting and just really executing on it when it gets busy. I also have a little bonus for you. So I have laid out my seed starting plan already and made it pretty. So if you want to, you can sign up below on a link to get the seed starting plan sent to you as a PDF so you can use it. It is a zone 6 seed plan, so keep that in mind. If you are growing zone 5 or 4, you can just move that. A growing zone 7 might be still work as well. You gotta be a little bit, you can be a little bit earlier as it gets warmer for you quicker, but keep that in mind. Follow the link below and you have a little nice collateral for you as reference on when to start your seeds. Of my garden planning series. I hope this was helpful to you to see the full process broken down in easy 3 steps videos to really get your plan in place for your dream garden of 2024 and beyond. So I would love for you to like this video. It's helping with the YouTube algorithm. Otherwise, if you have any comments, please feel free to put them in the comments below and I do my best to answer them. And then otherwise, subscribe and watch another video. Thank you.